Hello, my name is Abby and I am the Talking Book Librarian. Thank you for joining us for our book talk series today. These videos will be recorded and out on the Indiana State Library's YouTube channel, as well as the Talking Book Facebook page. The purpose of these book talks is to provide book ideas for book clubs and to include questions for you to answer for yourself or in a book club setting. These videos will remain online forever, so you can decide to read these books whenever you'd like. If you are interested in this book or any of the others, give the Talking Book employees a call at 800-622-4970. Feel free to pause the video at any time to answer any of the questions or discuss. The book we will be discussing today is Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. This is more of a science fiction-y book, so it's a little bit out of the realm of what our normal things are, but I thought we should give it a try. So the book overview, Annie Bot was created to be the perfect girlfriend for her human owner, Doug. Designed to satisfy his emotional and physical needs, she has dinner ready for him every night, wears the cute outfits he orders for her, and adjusts her libido to suit his moods. True, she's not the greatest at keeping Doug's place spotless, but she's trying to please him. She's trying hard. She's learning, too. Doug says he loves that Annie's artificial intelligence makes her seem more like a real woman. But the more human Annie becomes, the less perfectly she behaves. As Annie's relationship with Doug grows more intricate and difficult, she starts to wonder whether Doug truly desires what he says he does. It's such an impossible paradox. What does Annie owe herself? And then about the author. Author of Annie Bot, published March 19th of 2024 from Mariner Books and the Borough Press. Sierra Greer grew up in Minnesota before attending Williams College and Johns Hopkins University. A former high school English teacher, she writes about the future from her home in rural Connecticut. And then we will get into the discussion questions. So the first one is, Annie Bot gives us a peek into the consciousness of a very advanced AI robot. While you were reading the novel, at what point, if ever, did you start to see Annie as essentially human? Would you be surprised to learn that other readers pinpoint different moments for recognizing her humanity? In the first chapter, Annie is presented with a pivotal choice. How well equipped is she to make an informed decision? When she reflects back on her decision later in the novel, how has her perspective changed? Readers seem to have strong reactions to Doug. Considering that we get to know him in the privacy of his own home through the gaze of a robot, how reliable is the portrayal of him? Why do you suppose he evokes such powerful reactions? Is he familiar, normal, a monster, or something else? How does Doug's ability to command Annie change him? Doug designs Annie to resemble a specific person from his past. Why is this important? What does this tell us about Doug's character, his understanding of women, and his desire for control? What are the different episodes of betrayal that happen in the novel? And do the reactions to the betrayals seem justified to you? Doug is highly motivated to keep Annie, and she has no choice in the matter. In real life, couples stay together for many reasons, even when their relationships are unhealthy. What are some of those reasons? And do you think that the novel treats the issue of domestic abuse sensitively? How do Annie's other relationships with Fiona, Christy, Delta, and Cody cause her trouble or help her grow? How do you think third parties can affect, for better or worse, romantic relationships? Sierra Greer is a big fan of Strunk and White's maxim, omit needless words, and she deliberately kept the novel as short as she could. How do the concision and pace of Annie Bot add or detract from the novel? Are there places where you wish you knew more or that she expanded some more? This novel includes references to many other books, writers, and poets. Have you read any of the mentioned works? How do you think the allusions mirror the situations and themes of Annie Bot? How are the books and Annie Bot related to the ways men and women are socialized in our culture? According to author Sierra Greer, she had no idea how Annie's story would end when she began writing the novel. Were you surprised by the ending? Was it satisfying to you? What events do you imagine might follow? How would this novel have been different if a human woman had purchased a robot boyfriend, or if the relationship involved LGBTQ plus partners? There has been a lot of talk lately about ChatGPT, AI, and the future. Do you think robot partners are a possibility? Do you think they are a good idea? Can you imagine who would want to buy them? Do you think they would look and act like Annie? And then I got those discussion questions from a bookclubs.com website. They have a bunch of different discussion guides to talk about different novels, and luckily they had this one. So now I'll just provide a little bit of my own thoughts on the novel. I read this sometime either at the beginning of this year or last year. So it was kind of hard to refresh myself, be like, okay, what happened in this book again? But I did give myself a little refresher course, reread some parts again, and I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. I'm not a science fiction reader, mostly because sometimes they're too complicated, too convoluted, and they're hard to follow for me. And I'm just not into the different words that they like make up to, a different word for a screwdriver or something like that. That it's hard for me to follow. But luckily, Sierra Greer didn't do any of that. She wrote a really concise and really fast-paced novel. Really, I think it took me 2 days to read, maybe. So that was much easier for me. I enjoyed dipping my toes into reading science fiction, especially when it was talking about women and robots and kind of like, what about autonomy? Who's in charge? Who should be in charge? Who gets to be in charge? And I thought she did a really good job. And she did a good job of wrapping up the book in a good-ish way, to where I was happy with the ending. It was as best as it could have been. So I really enjoyed the book. It's a really nice primer into attempting to do science fiction, but not so heavy like a space opera or something like that. It was more based in reality, like in the real world, but in the future, maybe 50 years or so. So that was easier to follow. I understood it pretty well, and I really enjoyed the way where she took the book. I thought she did a really good job. So I will definitely be reading more of Sierra Greer in the future if she writes some more science fiction. I will not be back to see you guys until January. We will start the 2026 season of Book Talks. And off the top of my head, a few I can think of that I have chosen is Horse by Geraldine Brooks, The Wager by David Gran, and that's all I can remember when I opened my file this morning. So we have those two, but we have some other ones. Some other nonfiction, some other regular fiction, the popular ones from the last year. So be on the lookout for that. And I will see you guys again in January.